Welcome to the Business of Pleasure podcast. I am your host, your sexologist Bestie Kash, and y'all know this is your one-stop shop for where we put in the fun and the funs and the sexy and the success. I'm sitting here today with two amazing guests who I can't wait to introduce to you guys. And you guys got to know, we are in the middle of Men's Health Month. So even though we are girls sitting on the couch, going to have some girl talk and things like that today, I do want to make sure that we spend time this month really pouring into the men in our lives who we love and want to be healthy, vital, and strong. Like a rock. All right, I'm sorry. Y'all know how we get a little carried away. But we are going to have a lot of deep discussions today about pleasure. We're going to talk about mental health a little bit and some wellness ends, but I really want to get into really just loving yourself, body positivity. In order to do that, I had to tap on the shoulder some people, okay? Now, I'm going to introduce them one by one, but I would love when I share, call you guys out, tell them a little bit about yourself, what you're passionate about, what you do, what you go by, any AKAs. Everybody know I got 20 names in these streets. So all of the things that, help people identify with you. I'll start immediately with who's directly next to me. And I'm going to come to you first, Mel, who is, I just got to tell you guys, I've known her since, it's been 20 years technically. Yeah. We were in ninth grade when I met her. And I'm now watching her emerge as this awesome influencer who is so amazing with her content, her consistency, her positivity, and her message. And for this conversation, I felt you were someone who was super perfect to tap into. And I always think that it's great when we get to go back to, your core and see the people who you started with. You guys are still we're on a trajectory of spreading a very similar message. So Mel, tell them a little bit about you and what you stand for, and anything else that you want to share.
So hi, I'm Mel. I am a body positive influencer, content creator, model.
Yeah.
And I'm a mom. I'm also a poet and a spiritualist as well. I'm all about self-love, self-care, and self-advocacy, which is really important. All my work, it really correlates to loving yourself, but really being authentic and expressing yourself and alignment with your truth. I make content on Instagram that has to do with movement or dancing. And on TikTok, I also make spiritual alignment content that is encouraged to help people navigate themselves spiritually to align with their higher selves as well.
I love it. And she's gorgeous. I mean, can we
Thank you.
Take a moment, get into it.
Thank you.
Okay? We over here to empower, all right? Now, of course, I also have another beautiful sister of mine. And before I even introduce her, I got to put y'all in our business a little bit. See, at Bedroom Candy, we always talking about how we're a family. And I think sometimes when people hear that, those things sound like, semantics, like everybody says it, but they don't really realize when we say we're a family, we're a family. And I can personally say with this beautiful woman, my love for her was already existing. I've always respected her knowledge. I've always respected her mind, her brain, and the way she operates, but also that spicy personality, that tenacity, and that competitive spirit. Because technically, our friendship started off with a little friendly competition.
It's a competition. Technically.
But it turned into her being my doula.
Wow.
And my sister's doula. And on the day that we both brought our children into the world on the same day, after what was a very long...
It's crazy. It's 24 hours.
Crazy road. I'll let you tell the story from how you remember it too. But it was one of those situations where this person I met from business is now in the room holding my hand while I bring life into the world, and was also holding my sister's hand while she was bringing life into the world. And this was in the wake of the pandemic. So we literally gave birth 2 days before lockdown in the hospital. Okay. And it was like right in that moment where I remember calling her because they wasn't letting people go upstairs. And I was like, you gotta come right now. They're not trying to let me back there with my sister. And she's having a baby. And I'm doing all this yelling.
And I got to the hospital.
And who's in labor?
And they checked her ass in too. Really? They called me for her sister. And when I got to the hospital, she's getting triaged in the room, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what's
She came to
this?
deliver one
right, so
baby.
this
What's
was the
this?
baby born on both.
Yeah.
On both days.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh my god.
So it was funny because I literally screamed myself into labor that
Yeah.
day because I was like, I'm getting back there. And then when I rolled past them,
Her ass was back there.
I was like, we in there. but I know that's just one area of the work that you do, Quida. So I would really love for them to hear from, excuse me, let's put some respect on this. Dr. Payne, tell the people who you are.
All right. So I am Dr. Quida Payne. I am a doctor of social work, a licensed social worker in New York State, a certified sexuality coach, birth worker, parent. I am the owner and operator of Queen's Poise Love Coaching, where I provide individual, couples, and group workshops around sexuality, relationship improvement, focusing on navigating those things within yourself to improve relationships with yourself and others. I have my heart song is really helping parents navigate some of those conversations with their children. I wrote a book. I wrote a book about supporting parents with having those types of conversations with their children, because we do a bad job at really just educating folks. Everything that I do is focused on really improving your relationship with yourself by improving your relationship with others. So it's really about taking care of yourself, understanding who you are. And my logic with that is, as a parent, as whoever I am, if I'm good, everything by extension that I touch is in better shape. And so,
can we cue the organ sounds?
I just heard those are the titles I hold. I do some other stuff, but a lot of my heart song is teaching. And so teaching in maybe non-traditional ways, training, all that stuff is really about supporting people with learning new skills and having a good time while they do it.
That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. I find that, like, with the type of knowledge and messages that we all share, we have to find creative ways to do it, because honestly, the world is pretty mean, like pretty mean on subjects that they don't necessarily agree with, that they don't necessarily align with. And a lot of that discussion ends up being circled and centered around our physical, our sexuality, our sensuality, all those types of things. Everybody has an opinion. And one of the things that we talked about actually when we sat down in the last episode with our two male influencers, Sir Marvelous and Tahoe, shout out to you guys. We talked a lot about societal pressures. We talked about the impact on mental health. We talked about, like, we had a really deep discussion. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of kick off here is, I think that the conversation for Men's Health Month is not just a conversation for men. Right. I'm one of those people who's, like, very into her softness, like, hands down. Okay. I didn't know that back in high school when I wore pink every day for like a whole year, that was going to be the toggle switch, because I was a tomboy. But now I'm like, and what I've realized being surrounded by sons, brothers, uncles, my man, all these things, is that, like, the role that I play in their actual well-being. So one of the conversations that I kind of wanted to kick off with you guys, because one thing that you share in common is, one, positive messaging and really trying to bring that empowered, most, embodied version of people out. What advice would you have for a man who's looking to embody himself, who's looking to center his health and get on track? Or, what types of practices or things that you do that you feel more men should do that you don't really see them doing? I kind of want them to just get a chance to hear from you all, because I think we do good in having our self-care routines. What would you teach?
I'd love to answer that first.
Sure.
So when it comes to men, I think that they're discouraged from communicating, like, in an emotional manner. And I don't mean you have to express yourself in a feminine manner, because it's often misinterpreted as that.
Yeah.
I think it's okay for men to have a safe place to discuss the things that they really feel internally. And being able to discuss that with oneself first through methods of journaling, methods of community with other men that have like-minded ways of thinking is really important. Really, I find that a lot of men have issues communicating because they don't feel safe or they don't feel encouraged to have someone listen to them. And I don't mean listen like hear them. I mean listen to really understand what they're saying.
Going on, yeah.
But I believe it starts from within first. Like, how can I express myself in a way where it still makes me feel masculine, but at the same time, I'm being honest with how I'm feeling in that space?
That makes a lot of sense. Honestly, something you said that keeps coming up, one, is the safety component. And then the other part is having your own forms of that communication. Like when you share journaling, that was actually something when Jim said, I journal. Where are you putting those thoughts if you can't put them in another person's lap and to process them? So I love that advice. And Quida, what you got?
I definitely think kind of just recognizing what's going on with yourself and being able to have that honest conversation. One of my goals as a parent, and I feel like this is where I give myself a gold star. I have sons. I have Black sons. And so it's important for me to instill in them the ability to engage in their emotions. Like, I'm very much like, I don't care what male you are in my life. I'm like, give me the feelings. I want all of them. Give me the feelings. Give me. I want to know what your feelings are. Tell me. I got feelings wheels up in my house. But it's really to be a safe space for one, recognizing what those feelings are, and then being able to like have some place to put it, and then curating that safety place. And so if other places can't be a safe place, I'm going to be a safe place for you to just say whatever your feelings are. But really kind of dialing into knowing what's going on with you outside of what society allows.
Yes.
And so we do a disservice to everybody. But when we're thinking about men, not allowing them to access more than those basic inside out feelings of like happiness, sadness, anger, and stuff like that. And so being able to kind of access, what are the things that you like to do that allow you to live your life? You can't show me a man that hasn't gotten a haircut in over a month who ain't in a funky mood.
Yeah.
It's that haircut, like those little, what are those little things that like help you feel good about yourself in the moment, or like get an attitude change so looking at what those things are, and like some of the small things that you can just kind of take into yourself and invest in, and then find somebody who you can ask to help you with that.
You know what's so interesting about when we have these kind of conversations? I talk to so many women on a regular basis who are very much so pro men having this space.
Yes.
So what troubles me is when I still hear that there's this alarming rate of unsafety, like unsafe feelings or whatever the case is, or lack of safety for them, when I don't really know women who don't want them to be safe. Right. So I'm also kind of wondering what is perpetuating that problem. You know what I'm saying?
I have some theories.
Do you now?
Because my thing is, people say that they're a safe space, but they're not. And so it's like, I want you to talk to me about it. But then the minute someone actually expresses their feelings, then it's like, whoa. What's all these feelings about? What's all this? Now you're not a man because you have, whoa. You can't ask for the thing. And then when you get the thing, be like, no, this is not the type of man. No, that's not how this works. And so there's a lot, and you see it in a lot of the discourses that happen, where if people are paying attention, anytime a man in public expresses emotions and feelings, it becomes this negative thing versus like, damn, that's just got to be hard to hold. Right. The only space I see where it doesn't necessarily become, there's like a Ryan Clark's thing where they'll have some emotional moments and then it's okay. But other than that, and honestly, it's men and women whenever we express emotions in a loud way where it's just like, oh, you can't have emotions. Feelings are bad. I'm sorry. Feelings are part of the human experience.
And they're complex and it's arranged. And with age, I think they get more complex.
The second puberty is no joke.
But you said something that was really, I think, and I love to surface great things because sometimes y'all need to hear it again. People are under this delusion that they're safe.
Yep.
And I think that was a really good point to make, because I think we've all probably experienced that even in relationships, you have partners and things like that who think that they're providing you this love and nurturing, whatever the case is. And the question is, are they providing what they think they're actually providing? Are they loving you in the ways that you need?
No. Not at all, because they don't know how to provide that for themselves. Like, the saying like, hurt people hurt people. It is not so cliche. It is really, it's a metaphor, but it means really like, how are you able to express with yourself what you're going through? Are you your own safe space? Are you able to sit down with yourself and correlate the words that match how you're feeling or the moments that you're sharing when you're like having difficulty being happy, when you're depressed, when you may have some type of otherness or illness or whatever category that makes you feel anything other than what you are at your core, right? And when we don't have that space within ourselves to even be so authentic and genuine within ourselves, we hurt everybody around us that we try to say, like, yeah, you could come sit on the couch and come talk to me, right? But I'm not even talking to me, right? So like you cannot even do that, right?
I don't know if you heard that one. Are you even talking to you? But
are you even talking to you? And I mean in the healthiest way possible. No, but right?
it's a good point because there's a lot of people. You know, they say, and I don't know if you guys can relate to this because I know I used to be this way. I absolutely used to be the voice of reason for everyone around me. I could always be that sound person for them to come to,
absolutely,
right? But the problem was I could help other people navigate their things better than I could help myself navigate some of my own, because you know how that goes.
Maybe that's easier. It's always easier
when you're on the outside looking in.
Why me?
But look at how you identified that though.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to identify that?
It is.
Yeah. That you were this mechanism or this crutch or this coping place for others, but you were not allowing yourself the agency to be that for yourself.
For yourself.
So what happens there? You become upset or you become like buried under people's emotions and then resentful. And then you're taking it out on others who thought they could be the safe space, right?
Yeah. Because I you know, we say it plenty of times. We say, oh, nobody cares and nobody this and nobody that. And sometimes what you just said, that awareness is what leads to the intelligence, right? But also on top of it, it's like there comes a day where you could fool everybody and anything around you. But when you get by yourself and it's just you and those thoughts and those feelings in this space by yourself, you cannot run from what you feel in that moment. And that's why most people cry by themselves and X, Y, and Z, because the truest feelings and reflections come to the surface, not what you're presenting. And I think that's something that a lot of men also could stand to learn, because I think the other part of the conversation is you have to aid in your own rescue. And I do find that a lot of times in these conversations, when I have them with men, they have had an experience where they didn't feel safe and they allowed that to close them off for believing any other place could be safe. As opposed to taking time to be accountable, right? I have to be accountable on my own heartache. And that sounds crazy to some people. Even if someone else did something to me.
Your healing is your own personal responsibility.
I have to be. And it was some part of me. Right. That chose this person or that chose that situation. And my accountability is, no, I didn't ask for what happened, but I did choose this person. And whatever about me, I need to work on so I can make better choices about the people that I bring into my space, so I could decrease the likelihood of those things happening. And I think a lot of men could stand to do that to improve their mental health. It's not that you can see we here. We right here. We want you guys to feel safe. We want you guys to feel supported and loved. But do make sure that if you have experienced, like what Quida said, a person who isn't safe, who thinks they're safe, that you take time to make better decisions about the people you invite into that closeness for you. But that was really, y'all better take that advice to the bank. And stuff like this be the stuff that I usually tell my friends, hold on now, but that sounds like a master class. And we all forgiving and love in the gems, but broken passionate just really don't go good together. They is not a good sandwich. So what I do want to kind of talk about with you guys and kind of getting more into transitioning a little bit, because we are in this conversation about self-care and body positivity and just making yourself feel like a safe space for you. And I think that actually takes us perfectly into what I want to talk about with you guys on that. All three of us share a couple things in common. You know what I'm saying? We ain't no skinny minis.
No.
My hump. A little. Okay. Then we got a little bit of, you know what I'm saying? Whatever song it is. But I just want to ask you, just in the simplest terms, what does body positivity mean to you? How do you define it? And how did you begin your journey towards self-embodiment and positivity?
Well, my jar of fucks is empty. around how other people gonna feel about me and mine and what I got going on. And I'll look at pictures from like 10, 20 years ago and be like, oh man, I like when I was that size. But I thought I was fat then. I thought I was big then.
We just all went to church on that one. That was a whole. We all said, did y'all hear?
I was like, oh, I'm a little heavy.
Yeah. That had a little spiritual tone to it.
Now, I look at myself. This is the heaviest I've ever been in my life, but it's also the most that I've loved my body in this space. And it's the most that I'm just like, hey, this is where it is. Yeah, can I stand to lose something here or there because my knees hurt? Yes, and I will. But I'm also like, I love it here. I love it. I'm loving it. And so part of it is just really letting go of the others, like the other people having something to say. Somebody's always going to have something to say. And so, okay, fine. You can have what you want to say. I like myself. I'm going to like myself. I've been liking myself. Your like is a bonus. And so like leaning into that a little bit more, has really just helped. I think somewhere in your 30s, you lean into like your fuck's lower and your love goes up. It goes
two different directions. You have less room for this.
Yeah,
because you got a whole lot of this going on.
Yeah, like, if I don't take care of me, nobody else is. If I don't love on me, nobody else is. And so I have to get to a space where I'm doing that. It's just like, I'm heavier than I've ever been or whatever, but I'm okay. Like I'm good. I've gone to the doctor. And the doctor's like, your levels are good.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yep. My levels is good. Yep. Great. I'm going to do what I need to do to strength train so that my bones don't get brittle.
Right.
And I'm going to keep it here. 30. Yeah. But it really just becomes like, and it's a process though. This wasn't like a snap, like, oh, I feel this way. This was a curation of me just taking on, like, I'm good with me. I'm good with me. I feel good about how I am in my body right now. And if I don't like it, then I can control whether I do or don't do something about it. I get to control that. And so
it's your choice.
Just leaning into that and just being like, all right, let's just roll with that.
You know, that's why when I seen that this guy was going viral for this your body, my choice statement, it's such an attack.
Yeah.
Like when I hear something like that, it's such an attack. And I find like right now, people need to cling to messages of positivity even more, especially about themselves. When you got somebody going around saying things like that and actually picking up traction and actually having people who agree and actually supporting.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. It is. And so I definitely appreciate what you said. And I also, you know what I think that people need to realize, okay, this is not an overnight thing.
No.
Like,
no.
I find, I don't, and I'm sure you experienced this, Mel, and I want to hear your answer to this. So, Mel, I know that this is something that you spend a lot of time not just talking about, and I think a lot of people just see you, and they probably think that you just showed up, you arrived one day, and boom, you was this bursting boom of positivity and light, and that there was no story. And, like, I would love if you could talk more to your journey. Right? What led to you being here and at this space of feeling as enlightened as you are? And what made you also want to pay that forward by sharing your enlightenment with others?
So I am someone who I like challenges, right? Everyone told me since high school, right? You can't do this. You shouldn't do this. You look like this. You're ugly. Your body's not this. Like, I was bullied a lot. And for me, I was like, well, I don't think I'm supposed to look like you. So, one thing about myself is whenever anyone describes me, I always say I'm an individual. I've said this since I was like 16. Like, and what I mean by that is that I feel like who I am, I'm not meant to fit in a box. I'm not meant to be molded in any type of way. And this stems from my mother. My mother is a powerhouse of a woman, right? And by a powerhouse, I mean, I don't know if you remember my mother, but she speaks her mind, says what she needs to say. My mother's a plus size, big woman who never cared. And she wore what she wanted to wear with modesty. And I looked up to that and I was afraid to be like her. And as I started to become into my 30s, I was in a really tumultuous relationship where I kept getting cheated on. And I kept getting cheated on with women that were smaller than me. And so I went through this time of discouragement and self-hate because the person I loved constantly would cheat on me with someone skinnier. Like at a certain point, it was like, okay, this is what you like. And that's not me. So I went on a self-healing journey and I wanted to accept myself and spent a lot of time naked. I spent a lot of time naked, dancing in my mirror at home.
That'll do it.
I am a dancer, a trained dancer, but I spent time dancing naked and I cried naked with my own body. And I think I was like 300 pounds back then. And I grew to love who I was without clothing, without a shell, right? And I wanted to sort of like document that. And at the same time, I was going through a mental disparity as well because of that and other things. And I was like, you know what? I need to move through my body and see how I really exist with these pounds on me, because that was my heaviest. And I was like, how, like, do I still feel like Mel inside, right? And let's see if my body correlates and communicates and agrees with that. So I started dancing, like, I think it was like 2022. I started filming my dancing and I didn't put it out there. Then I was like, what would I say to me if I'm someone who gained weight, had a terrible relationship, went through a mental health issue? What would I say to me? So I started putting encouraging messages for myself on my videos to come back to help me heal, because I didn't want to be in this space.
So you really did it for yourself.
I did it for myself. And then I decided to share it and it became this major thing. And then Dove got their eyes on it, right? And they were like, we love you. And I had like a following of like 500 people, nothing. And they're like, we love this messages. Can you be in our campaign? And from there, I decided, okay, I'm going to share these messages in a larger spectrum because people are resonating with them.
I'm so happy you shared that you weren't at a space of having a certain number of eyes on you.
No.
Because I think what you have to do, and people have to understand, especially people who want to do content for, you know, whatever reason online, is don't wait until people show up to start doing the thing. Do the thing and let the people that you wish to attract show up. That's how you get your most authentic audience when you're doing stuff. Because like you said, I'm just doing what I'm doing for me, and it attracted this opportunity.
Yes.
So I love that for you. Congratulations on that's a big step initially, just when you're first coming out as a creator, just like, I'm just doing my thing. And I also want to bring up something you said as you related to being naked and dancing with yourself and crying with yourself, because I have a very similar, like almost identical experience. And it's kind of scary when I talk to people and I realize that we're really the same person. We're the same. We're the same person. And that's just because people don't think that when you are a certain level of confidence that you ever. Let me be clear. I was always pretty bold. Okay.
Yes.
Like, yes. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say act like I was not like at first I was out, you know. But with modesty.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I experienced, and this is something I wanted to talk about and tap into you, Quida, on, because I had been cycling through different birth controls, right? And I was always a full figured girl, but when I got onto one specific birth control, shot me up over 100 pounds in like less than a year. As a result, tried to do the regular thing, go to the gym, X, Y, and Z, change where you're eating, all those kind of stuff. Actually pulled some stuff and threw my back in the gym. So now I got restricted from doing physical activity, but I'm still a big old broad. Right? My peak weight was, and then I'm only saying that just, you know, all jokes aside, I was 356 pounds as my highest weight. And I got a little bit of height, but I still, like you said, it got to the point where I could feel it, my weight. And so I got very emotionally depressed a little bit because I want to change it. And I felt like the things that I was trying to do to change it actually made it worse. And now I'm being told, you can't go to the gym. You can't do this and that. And nothing is getting me where I wanted to be. So I eventually, after some time, started going on the pathway, and I did the sleeve surgery to help me initially come down. I tested pre-diabetic. That was a little scary for me. I was a little too young for those type of conversations. For me, I'm still too young for those kind of conversations. But my point is, during that era, I called that my cleavage tank. Like, I call my real home housewife sexiness, because I had these little shorts that showed enough cheekage. I got a little tank top, it's gonna give a little cleavage, but it's loose and it's gonna mask the belly, and everything came off during sex but that shirt. But those shirts, but those tank tops, but those t-shirts, or whatever the case is. I would feel like Free Willy every time I got up on him. Okay. And I felt like every time I came down, the ocean was coming with me, and not in the way that we want, but because I was the ocean is how I felt. Because even though he's like, go ahead, baby, da-da-da, I did not feel good. So I'm so conscious. I'm not even enjoying.
Right.
I will say that once I started losing weight, I thought the weight was going to be the thing that shifted how I felt.
It wasn't.
It was the commitment to myself.
Yep.
Yes.
No matter what hit, that made me say, we're going to get to where we want to get. I'm not looking to be skinny, but I just need to be more comfortable in this size. And as I started getting there and getting there and getting there, I'm dancing. Dancing is a huge outlet.
Yes. Dancing is a huge outlet.
People don't give enough credit to how movement helps your body process emotion.
Yes.
I do a lot of work around trauma. I do a lot of training around trauma. And it's always like, do the breaths. Breathing is cool, but sometimes you gotta move.
Yes.
You have to put the energy somewhere. Dancing, shaking my ass fresh out the shower is like one of the best things to do in the morning. I'm out the shower, right now, brushing my teeth in the towel, just like shaking at the sink, because it feels good. Like you have to, people don't give enough credit to how movement heals you. Your body needs it because it holds on to everything. It holds on to everything. Everything that you don't hold on to actually perpetuates every type of inflammation in your body. Yes. And so like finding ways to move that out, whether it's breathing, whether it's yoga, whether it's dance. I like dance.
And you know what's so funny about it is that people go to the spa and they recognize the healing benefits of like getting a massage when they don't realize, even though that masseuse is still moving your body.
Exactly.
Yes. It's still a form of motion. They're moving the tension. They're moving the stress. They're moving the aches. They're moving the pains. Nothing staying still.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Ever produces that vitality that we're speaking of. And I don't think anybody can have embodiment without having that kind of connection to their bodies and what type of movement it is. And I just want to say this because you said something about shaking ass, right? It's a
sacral chakra.
I don't care what nobody here. Like we don't even need a whole beat. Yes, we don't even need anything. We could just, and that's one thing I love about us is women, especially Black women. We are really big. We don't really need a soundtrack. We don't need that. No, we could just see each other in the street walking by, be like, "Okay, sis, get it, sis." And the next thing you know, we having a whole party. And I love that about the way we are with each other. But I did want to give information. That's always important to share. And during this portion we're now kind of facing into a little bit of adult edutainment, okay, which is where we spend a little bit of time educating while entertaining and having some very mature adult conversations. But Quida, you might remember we had masseuse Dizzy, shout out to Dizzy, who came to our BK convention and did a live presentation on stage of massage. And what he talked about as he was doing the massage with his very, very, very electrifying demo. So because she was very, oh man, her moans and everything on the stage, you would have wanted that massage. Let me just tell you that. You were just sitting there like, all of that from her pinky toe? She's just like, I'm like, what is he doing? But he talked about trauma and how he can tell where his client is carrying their trauma based on where they're carrying their pain. And he spoke specifically about trauma in the hips, right? And so that conversation really had me very curious. I'm very big on like tapping into my ancestral root too. And if you look back culturally in a lot of African dance, it's a lot of hip movement, gyrating this and shaking, like you just said, shaking, just moving and letting everything get loose. And so I did want to say, understand, guys, that there is a lot of research that supports showing that trauma is stored in the hips. And they say that because the hips are a central point of movement and stability involving muscles in your body, like your glutes and your hip flexors. where we experience a lot of stress, these muscles actually often contract as a part of the body's natural fight or flight response, right? So over time, it can lead to a chronic tightness or stress. So this is not just saying it's on a spiritual level. There is literally also physical evidence of the body showing that when your stress flares up, your hips tighten up.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Repeated stress, repeated trauma leads to repeated tightness.
Yep.
And people don't realize that their inability to, they be like, girl, how you move your hips? I'm constantly dealing with my trauma. Like, I don't know how to tell you.
That's
You
a
want
way
to
to
shake
put
them
it.
hips. You know what I'm saying? You got to get rid of some shit. Like, you know what I mean? But yes, right. We got to put that on. Yeah, we got to put it on a shirt as well, right? And they also talked about energy centers, and this is something I want to come to you on. So first, Quida, I had wanted to direct the question around people understanding that what women go through with their bodies. People think from the outside that they just, oh, this girl is just big, or this girl just don't care, or you just letting yourself go. And for me, it was very hurtful because I felt like I didn't have a lot of control over what was happening to my body at that time. And as I'm going through my process of getting down to my goal weight, I started to give, like you said, less fucks about what anybody had to say anymore. And I want to ask you if you could speak specifically to the associations of a lack of body positivity that women often experience during the process of conceiving, carrying, or post, you know what I'm saying, postpartum, delivering or bringing a child into the world. And then from your experience, how long do these effects residually tend to last for them psychologically?
Oh, see now, that second part, I'm gonna have to hold that. So there's always somebody in your business about your uterus and like how you're going to conceive and whether you're able to conceive. And once, don't gain too much weight once you're pregnant. And so it's really important, if we can, to create a cocoon of safety for people to just be as they are in the healthiest place that they can be when they're conceiving, when they're having children. It's really important to have a protective bubble within yourself or have a community that supports you with telling people to shut the fuck up.
Yes.
People just need to learn to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because someone will always have something to say about your body. And people don't even realize how hurtful it is to see someone, you haven't seen them in a week, and then they're pregnant and in their third trimester or wherever they are. And they're like, oh, you sure it's not twins in there? Bitch, what's your excuse? I'm creating life. What's your excuse? I know why this is here. What you got going on? But people like to take folks' autonomy away from them when you're pregnant. Like, being pregnant is a condition that needs support, but it doesn't mean that someone lacks their autonomy about their body. And so supporting people with having their bodily autonomy when they're pregnant is super important. The process of having a baby, like pushing a baby, bringing that baby into the world, depending on the environment you bring it in, is really important to create those spaces that allow for that to be one of the most consenting and supportive processes ever. I've legit wanted to hook off on doctors because I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, did you ask? Why is your hand in there?
Yeah,
Did you say something?
And it comes in more than one way than just like the direct physical touch, because you even see that control when people see like a pregnant woman dancing or twerking or whatever.
Like,
people feel
like, oh, you better sit down.
Yeah,
I will. When my feet say I need to sit down, but right now I was with my first son. My homegirl it was a month before he was born. She was getting married. We go to the wedding. I had on a dress and I had on heels. I don't do the barefoot party thing. So I'm up. I'm in the heels. I'm dancing belly out to here. They're like, yo, you good? You're going to dance that baby out. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't.
Right.
Nonetheless, I'm a dance.
Yes.
Mind your business. Because what it becomes is people need to understand that pregnant people need to move.
Yes.
You have to move in order to help facilitate that process of the baby coming out. You got to move your hips. Belly dancing was probably one of the most fun things I did when I was pregnant with my second child.
You got to move.
Because you have to be able to move those hips. You got to be able to open those hips up. And so helping people access those things, giving those recommendations, get into a swim class, get into a dance class, get into prenatal yoga, get into belly dancing. If I could recommend anything, everybody should get into belly dancing because it really helps you with your hip isolations. But those things. And then once someone has that baby, give yourself some grace. It takes your body 18 months to 2 years to physically heal. 18 months to 2 years to physically heal. It takes your brain almost 18 months to 5 years to get back in alignment. Like, baby brain is a real thing. Your brain shrinks when you're pregnant.
Your
brain shrinks when you're pregnant, and then depending on whatever circumstances you got going on, it's going to take up to 5 years before you really start to feel like you're yourself. And so in that time, it's really important to try to have as many supports as you can have, and then really have people who team up on like, nah, you gotta shut the fuck up. I need a protective barrier. I want an electric fence because I want to be a damsel. I want to be a damsel.
Yes.
When I'm recovering, I want to be a damsel at all times. That's a new thing for me. Well, but like when I'm recovering from having a baby, right, in this time where I am my most vulnerable and my hormones are so out of whack that I don't know what's going on. You can't
tell what's going on.
I need somebody else to come in and be my team of knights, whoever it is, and be like, leave her alone. Shut the fuck up. Leave her alone. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to take care of her. And we've gotten so far away from that this is why I'm into birth work, because I want to be a space that creates that type of community. I have a goal, like 10 years, maybe 20, to open like my own birth house.
It would be a beautiful thing.
Nice. But part of it is to create that type of community.
You know what it is that where a lot of people don't realize it until they've experienced it or had it. Because I mean, I'm somebody who's had an experience of birth more than once, some that ended, in a successful outcome, and some of them that ended in tragedy. And one thing that I can say is I do feel like there was a very big difference in pushing Caden than I had any other prior delivery. And don't get me wrong, I had a great level of support when my first child came into the world. My sister was there, my auntie was there. I did want to choke his dad that day.
Be that way sometimes.
Yeah, I did. He came in the birthing room with a turkey and cheese sandwich, and I couldn't eat food until after delivery.
He had a death wish.
Yep.
He had a death wish.
I just hope you don't see this episode, because you're gonna know I still ain't over. He 13. I'm still not over it. I threw something. I don't remember what it was. I think it was a stress ball. They gave me something to squeeze. I felt it was better to throw it. But like you said, people don't realize there's a lot of shifts in the hypothalamus. There's a lot of changes to the white and gray matter that impact our ability to even recognize what we're feeling. Like you talked about that awareness. It's literally scattered. And so I think that we just need a little bit more empathy. And consideration, because you don't know what a person's going through and what their body has been through or is presently in at the moment that you're looking at them and you're judging what you see. And I think the other part of it that you said, Mel, that I kind of wanted to come back to on the spiritual end of it, and also in the conversations you share with your own story, is I think that people assume that bodies that have a little bit more on them are less capable of doing certain things, when we have seen time and time again that being slim doesn't mean that you are fit, doesn't mean that you are in good shape.
It doesn't at all.
And I don't know about you, but I commonly get a lot of women and men alike who are surprised that they see me do something physically that they don't think that I'm supposed to be able to do.
Right.
And you're someone with dancing activity that you keep yourself moving. Can you talk about in your own experiences, has your weight held you back? Like, have you felt like it's been a restrictor, or that? Just talk to me about like what you feel. What do you feel when you dance?
My weight is a number. It's literally, it has nothing to do with who I am at all. Like, correlating a number to my existence is like minuscule. Like, I'm sorry to say that. Like, we're beyond a number, right? Like, how we hold our weight for me has nothing to do with what that number says. When I'm moving, what I focus on is how I'm feeling through my limbs. Like, I am a very spiritual person, and I believe that who I am internally and how I think and how I see and how I, say things, it flows through me. When I'm dancing, I feel free. I feel like I'm capable of anything, and my body just follows suits. Once I pour my emotions into my limbs, into my existence, my being, I then can do things that I would believe I'm incapable of. And so, like, I am also someone who's really into strength training. I'm like a power lifter, right? I lift, not competitively, but I lift a lot. And then I do that before dancing.
Interesting.
And I have my workout sessions like that. So I'll power lift and then I'll dance at the end. And that's my cool down.
Okay.
And that does not mean I'm dancing slow. That it just means that the muscles that I've built, I'm flowing through them.
Okay.
And I'm moving through them.
I like that.
And that is also my therapy for myself. Like, there's regular therapy, but that's my physical therapy to work out trauma that may be withholding my mind, in my emotions, in the things I can't say out loud. And it brings me like serenity. It brings me calm when I'm able to do that. And it's not always easy. Like I said, I dance crying.
Yeah.
But I cried in that moment because I was incapable of saying anything. So my body said it for me. So that's what happens when I dance like that.
You know what's so funny is it also, for me, and it served as a mnemonic device. I'm very intentional with my playlists and stuff like that. That's, you know, and I'm Pisces, so sometimes there are certain playlists that you'd be like, what the fuck is going on with her, right? Because like it goes from 20, you know, the range of emotion. Like you're like, she okay? Next thing you know, I'm radioactive. Like, come on, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not gonna judge you. My playlist is about the same.
Crazy.
I'm a Cancer, so I'm on the other half of that. I get it.
Yes, we're both water signs.
Yeah.
So people would be like, girl, you're sad, so you making yourself sadder. Like with this playlist. Understand that.
Yeah.
And here I am.
Yeah, it's a lot going on.
And here I am. No, sis, that's not it. I just gotta go through it. I gotta go through it. I will take myself deeper into the emotion.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a form of shock therapy. I don't know if it's a psychotic thing or what. But sometimes when I'm feeling sad, I just want to feel sad.
Yes.
I'll dance or whatever the case is. And it's funny because I know if somebody ever recorded it, I probably look stupid. Right? Like
semantics.
Certain art movements kind of you know what I'm saying? Now I am Black, so I can't dance off beat to save my life. That's just embedded in me. If I tried to dance off beat, I'm just looking stupid on beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say to that notion of what you shared about the dance, it's a mnemonic device in that music and sound are attached to memory.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So also one of the biggest things that's helped me in my own personal embodiment is having a strong level of awareness of where I have been at a given time.
Yes.
And sometimes when I'm going through something new or I'm going through something that feels familiar, that mnemonic session, that dance session takes me back to that moment.
Yes.
And it's helped me make a lot of decisions that didn't repeat. Because for a little while, you know, I was talking about my business that I had to close down. Unfortunately, the pandemic, I did have to close down my Build-A-Man workshop. And I was uplifting them and stuffing them and helping them have a voice. And then one day I said, I have to close the shop down. I cannot build men any longer for a living. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding.
I build Legos.
You know, but you know what it is. You know what it is. Yeah. Be out there.
I'm building Legos.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying. But it was a point in my life where I definitely know I poured more into the men in my life than I poured into myself.
Yeah.
And anytime I find myself getting too close to that neighbor, I remember the songs that I listened to when I was feeling how I was feeling in. And if I hear that song, it's gonna be like, we're not going back.
Okay.
We're not going back. So I've also used it to pull me out. Another thing that I did want to kind of spend some time with, right? Because we have spoken about embodiment. We have spoken about different changes of the body. And I know that this conversation, y'all probably feel like we're going all over because we're women. That's what we do. We go all over the place. We can multitask. But I love the fact that regardless of each person's individual experience, background, or personal experiences, they all connect, right?
Yes.
We all have shared a common love for movement, freedom, fluidity, awareness, being present for yourself and being aware of what space you need to create and what space, the things you don't need in your space. And these are the common denominators in this conversation. I don't think that we move to a space of true embodiment or true empowerment until we've done some of the things that we've spoken about in this conversation. And so anyone listening who is trying to figure out where to start, that's a good place. And one of my new favorite things to do, which is something that I'm actually going to bother Mel about, just a little, it's the sadistic side of me. I get my feels and I get my kicks out of this type of stuff because to me, I always see you as a sensualist.
I am.
Right? And it takes one to know one. And lately, I've been like doing some of my own personal, I call my pleasure mapping sessions to a lot of affirmative soundtracks. So sometimes it is music, but sometimes it's spoken word over music or whatever the case is. And I kind of want to help those get a feel of the energy that you might want to bring out or invoke if you were to have a little session with yourself. And in order to do so, I'm going to grab our book. We have a book at BK called Sex Poetry. And this is written by the awesome Kenitha Grant, who used this book. It's called Sex Inspires My Best Poetry is the full title. But basically, she formulated this collection of poems inspired by song lyrics, right? So there's the music fluidity part of it. And this is something I felt like was going to connect with her. So this is actually hers. But I didn't even get to gift it to her. Let me just tell y'all, because y'all know I don't BS y'all. I didn't even get to tell her that this is one of the things that I was bringing to give her. She automatically picked it up.
She's like, this is for me.
This is for me.
She didn't ask. She was like, this is for me. She was like, did you know? She was like, did you know that I wanted that? Because it's mine. I was like, it actually is. But I love that you connected with it that way. I wanted to ask if you could pick a poem. And because she did mention that, she's a poet, and share your energy and whatever it is that you're reading and lend it on out to our viewers watching here today.
Okay, sure. All right, let's see. So I was going through this before. I'm gonna be honest. I seen some stuff in here. Okay. Lyrical seduction.
Oh, we're gonna bring down the instrumental.
I just wanna say I'm not responsible for any feelings felt after hearing this. All right. Talk to me. Tell me all the things you want to do to me. Tell me how you like to be touched. Where do you want to be sucked? How do you like to be fucked? Express to me, tell me how you feel in poetry. Describe your innermost desires, me and you, unscripted, open to whatever transpires. Articulate while I masturbate. How you like the sound of my moans and groans while I bring myself to climax. Whisper. Your voice gives my clit a sensation. My hunger is satisfied by your conversation. Digesting your verbs, nouns, and objectives. Pleasing me is your only objective. Show me your cunning linguist while performing cunnilingus. Speaking to me in tongues the only way I can understand it. Seduce me lyrically. Woo-wee!
Words matter, guys. Words.
Sex poetry, y'all.
Sex poetry.